So guys, hit a 10 hood, us in 3.
All right, back on Turks. Here's the situation. I got two announcements for you guys. One, tonight, if you're in the LA area, I'm going to Poppin' Politics. That's Jimmy Dore's comedy show. I'm going to be on a panel with comedians. It could be painful. You might want to watch. So that's at the UCB Theater. You can find tickets at ucbtheater.com, but that's theater as in THEATRE, okay, TRE.com. And it's at 5919 Franklin Avenue in Hollywood, California. It's at 8 o'clock tonight. By the way, there's real comedians there. Eddie Pepitone from Flight of the Conchords, the Dave Chappelle Show, Paul Jill Martin from TBS Dinner and a Movie, David Feldman, who will be on the program later, Real Time with Bill Maher, and Daily Show writer. So some great comedians there along with Jimmy Dore. All right, now, announcement number 2. So you know how we're doing Goldman Give It Back, the $13 billion they got in backdoor bailout from AIG. It's a bet they made. We had nothing to do with it. We paid them anyway, the taxpayers did. Drives me crazy. So we're trying to get it back through our wiki protest. And I checked the page yesterday, and there's a whole bunch of interesting suggestions. There's some good stuff. Guys by the name of JR, not him, but another JR and Lucum, they made some good suggestions. Somebody said, hey, look, let's send old school letters to them. That might get their attention, like actually, written out letters instead of email. Others said, hey, we should find their emails and send them notes, the people that work at Goldman Sachs, to get our money back. But the one I really liked was Gary Hanna. Gary had the idea of, well, I'll read it for you. He said, print out cards or flyers with Goldman Give It Back and put it in every local business within 2 blocks of a Goldman Sachs branch so that each employee can see it when they go to Starbucks during lunch, and the topic can come up often during their lunch hour. LOL. Okay. I like that idea. It's perfect because it's unobtrusive, it's not in any way physical, but it gets the message home. And people are going to start to wonder, hey, what does it mean, Goldman Give It Back? And so I know that we've got somebody else on that on the site, theyoungturks.com/Goldman Give It Back, put the office addresses in the different parts of the country and in Canada as well. So look, here's what I suggest. If somebody wants to actually do this, it would be awesome. And if you do it, like, take a picture of the flyers, or if you, better yet, if you can, a small little video of the flyers around the Goldman Sachs office at the different stores or whatever. That'd be fantastic. So that's the whole point of the wiki protest. People come up with suggestions and others take actions, and we see if it builds. All right, so thank you for participating in that. So now let's get angry. All right. So, we're battling back and forth in financial reform, and we've got some important parts that have been taken out already. And in almost every single instance, the White House has been in favor of less reform, not more reform, has been on the side of the banks, not on our side. There are some exceptions to that. They claim that they're still in favor of the Volcker rule. Well, that's good. They claim that they're still in favor of the Consumer Protection Agency. That's good. But on everything else, derivatives, splitting up the banks, etc., no. But one issue that they were theoretically clear on, and were on our side on, is whether shareholders can affect the pay of the CEO and the executives, and who gets to serve on the board. Now think about that. How can you possibly be against that? If you're a Republican or a Democrat, conservative or liberal, shouldn't the owners of the company, the shareholders, have something to say about CEO performance and board performance? Of course they should. They're the owners, right? So there was a part in the bill. This is good. It passed the Senate and the House. So there's no issue. There's no conflict on this, and there's no need for a controversy. Investors will have a proxy access to corporate decision-making process because of this bill. Great. Except it just got taken out. Now, wait a minute. If the House and the Senate both agree and they passed a strong version, why did it get taken out? Because the White House came in and said, no. Valerie Jarrett, who works with the Business Roundtable, she's at the White House, but she's the liaison to the Business Roundtable, said, we don't like that in there. That might affect CEO pay. We like them being overpaid. We don't want the owners of the companies to have any say in who actually runs their companies and how much they get paid. We're going to have to take that out. Now, the Business Roundtable doesn't actually give a damn about business. Okay, you have to understand the different lobbyists for the different organizations. This organization isn't concerned about how well the companies do. This is a lobbyist group for the executives, for the CEOs. But they gather a lot of money from those folks who've then gathered it from the people who should have gotten it, the owners of the companies, the shareholders. And they funnel it to the politicians, and then the politicians cover their ass. It's a perfect little system, except for you and I, right? So, I mean, when you see this, and they took it out. And they had Chris out in the Senate put in a different provision that says, oh, sure, yeah, of course, we'd love to protect shareholders as long as they have 5% of the company at least. If you know anything about this, how the stock market works and how public corporations work, you know almost no one has 5% of a company. It's all broken up into much smaller parts. Like, for example, News Corp, there's only two people with a more than 5% interest, Rupert Murdoch and Prince Alawid bin Talal, right? That's it. Now, but what does happen is there are giant pension funds that invest in all these companies. Now, they have a large stake, as up to 0.5%, which is an enormous amount of money for some of these corporations. And those people would get to have a say then in CEOs and executives' pay and whether they should be hired and what the board should do, right? And no, Obama's against it. So the bottom line on this is very clear. That's it. Obama was a total and utter liar during the campaign. And I'm being really soft here. I want to say things that are much uglier. Okay, when he told you that he was going to bring you change, he was messing with you. Okay, he was playing you for a sucker. And he said, oh, I don't want it. I got the quote in my back pocket, literally. I took it out, I clipped it out, put it in my wallet. I show it to people whenever they want. Okay, he said during the campaign, I don't want to play the same old Washington games. I don't want to play them a little better. I want to change the game. Was that good? That was good, right? Rock and roll. Yeah, idiots. He gets into office? No. He wants to play the same old Washington games. Oh, I'm on your side. Those corporate CEOs, we're going to get them. Hey, Valerie, go ahead and take that out. Come on now. Those guys contribute to us. They're good guys. We have tea and crumpets together. We have a cocktail party. Then that's how we get elected. This is nothing but a 100% wholesale sellout. Not only to corporate interests, it's actually not even in the interest of those corporations, but to the CEOs who are robbing the corporations blind, let alone the taxpayers blind, which Obama and Geithner also helped them to do. They're not on our side. Look, I know people hate that, man. I know it. If you voted for Obama, how disappointing is that? If you fought for Obama, how disappointing is it? I know, because I did, right? And I hate to break your dreams and illusions of guy was actually going to be on our side. But it turns out, nope, he's a politician through and through. Not on our side. On the side of the CEOs who are robbing everybody blind. Does it get more disappointing than that? Sometimes I get discouraged. But look, at least we know, right? So let's go. Get up off your ass. Stop being polite to the guy. But he's on our side. But no, he's a chess player and he's going to figure it out. No, he's going to give us really small incremental change and then that's going to build up to slightly bigger, but really still minuscule change. No. I'm not taking those excuses anymore, okay? You got to go, look, I'll go a little further, but not nearly as far as I want to go. You got to go to war against the guy. Because this guy, he's not on your side. He's messing with you. He thinks you're a fool. Him and Geithner and Summers sit around probably drinking cognac going, wasn't it funny how we said we would be against the CEOs? And then we took it out even though it passed both the House and the Senate. Where's our money? Where's our money? Sickening, man. Sickening. All right, just to be absolutely clear on this, you might think, well, come on now. Did they say that they were ever, in favor of this provision? Well, when White House spokesperson was asked about it, he said, well, look, this provision, quote, it was not part of our original proposals, and we've not taken a position explicitly. Do you understand that? We didn't take a position explicitly, just implicitly. We told them behind the scenes to kill it. It wasn't explicit. And it wasn't our original position anyway. We never cared for it. Really? That's interesting because we've got a quote here from Deputy Secretary of the Treasury Neil Wolin. He says, for example, on corporate governance, the Senate bill will make clear that the SEC has unambiguous authority to issue rules permitting shareholder access to the proxy. We support that proposal. The SEC's rulemaking process will define the precise parameters of the proxy access. Couldn't be any clearer. Issue rules permitting shareholder access to the proxy. We support that proposal. Here's what Valerie Jarrett, who wound up killing this proposal, had said earlier. In regard to Wollen's comments, she had said the Senate bill will make it clear that the SEC has unambiguous authority to issue rules permitting shareholders access to proxy. Essential, as I know you guys know, we agree that corporate governance means more transparency, more responsibility, more accountability, and once again, I can't say it too often, we stand firmly with you on that point. Except we're totally lying because we're all goddamn liars. And when you're not looking, we're going to kill that provision and make more money from those guys. Valerie Jarrett. All these guys, man. I mean, look, I'm telling you, you don't know what I want to say. Okay? They get up there and give you pretty speeches. I saw Valerie Jarrett at one of these conferences, at one of the Lib conferences, right? And that was in the height of the healthcare reform. And she came with her coded language. And I couldn't believe that they couldn't figure it out in the room, right? She came in and said, the president is supportive of the public option, et cetera, et cetera. And every time it was like, not phrased in we're going to fight for it or we're actually in favor of it, but in a theoretical world, we would probably be in favor of the public option. And then they gave her applause for that. They're like, oh yeah, look, see? She's in favor of the public option. I went around the room, I'm like, are you guys crazy? She just told you she's going to kill it. Okay? Hello, McFly. And I think it was Net Roots or something, and those Daily Coast guys, they're like, Obama, he is awesome, I love him, I have man crush on him, abs of steel, right? And they couldn't see straight. And guess what happened at the end? Hey, Chair, do you remember, did we wind up getting the public option? Oh, we didn't get it. Oh, right. That's weird, huh? Funny how that works. All right. Yeah, I'm out of time. That's all right. Michael Schur is going to join us in the third hour. We'll do more politics then. All right? Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. Now, one more thing on BP. Let me give you those numbers that I promised you and the Dr. McCoy Act. And then we'll move on to how goofy the media is. So there's, of course, congressional hearings. They bring Tony Hayward, the CEO of BP, in front of them. He says he is deeply sorry. Well, that should cover it. And that he was simply not involved in the decision-making process. Poor guy's only the CEO. I mean, it's not like he'd be in a position to make decisions. My understanding was if you're at the top, I think a former president might have said this, that your job is like if your job had a title, it'd be a decision maker. Okay, but no, Tony Hayward says, when asked, I'm not a cement engineer. He said that in response to a question. And then when they asked him, hey, what went wrong here? He said, I'm not a drilling engineer. Damn it, Jim, I'm a CEO, I'm not a drilling engineer. Damn it, Jim, I'm a CEO, not a cement engineer. One last one. And they said, wait a minute, how about all the oil plumes? Are you going to tell us whether that's really there or not, or are you going to keep evading on that? And he says, damn it, Jim, I'm a CEO. I'm not an oceanographer. Oceanic. I can't do it. Scientist. Okay. Well, we had fun.
If the job description were what do you do, it's decision maker.
Okay, and definitely not that word scientist. Okay, so he said, it wasn't me. Now, of course, if I'm a congressman and I'm talking to this guy, I say, oh, that's interesting. Well, at least you have to know, you're the CEO, who's in charge of making the decisions on safety, right? So, for example, this is very, very important. Now, earlier we talked about a $500,000 valve that we think could have prevented this, right? But it turns out there's a separate drill that they could have gone with entirely that would have cost them an extra $7 to $10 million, but they think would have been far, far safer, okay? So that $7 to $10 million that they wanted to skimp on wind up causing this disaster, getting 11 people killed, and, of course, wind up costing them possibly up to $20 billion. That's short-term greed for you, okay? So I would ask him, who made that decision? Now, don't tell me you're not a drilling engineer, you're not a scientist, you're not this, but you got to know who made it, right? I want him to come in and I want him to sit next to you and I want him to explain why he made that decision and if he brought it up to you or not, or if he was the sole person responsible for that decision. Let's hear him out, okay? No, but they're going to play hot potato. Oh, what me? What me? No, I don't make decisions. I'm mid-level. No, he's the big guy. Oh, I don't know anything about these decisions. When they asked him, they said, hey, you're telling me they got 30,000 pages of documents. And Henry Waxman asked him, in not a single email or document that you paid even the slightest attention to the dangers of this well. When he gets that question, he says, well, I got hundreds of wells all over the world. What am I going to do? And then the congressman would say, exactly, that's what scares us. You're telling me you got all these wells, some of them are offshore, and a lot of them have safety violations I'm about to tell you about, and you don't make the decisions on any of them, and you don't know what's happening in any of them? That doesn't really give us a lot of confidence. So how about those accidents, right? Well, let's go to those. Well, over the last 5 years, 26 people have died, and 700 have been injured in BP accidents. While their CEO goes, it wasn't me. I mean, those suckers died. I mean, workers died. We put safety first, safety first. Now, he keeps saying that, right? He says, as soon as I came in, he said in 07, I told them I want to focus on safety like a laser beam. And then they say, okay, great, so what'd you do? Oh, I don't know. I didn't do a damn thing. I mean, I don't know. I didn't make any decisions. So which one was it? Did you focus like a laser beam, or you didn't do anything? You never made a single decision about safety. Which one? Damn it, Jim, I'm a CEO, not a drilling engineer. Okay, so then, well, let's compare them, finally. Let's compare BP versus the other companies that also do offshore drilling, right? Now, this is a stunning number. BP has had 760 safety violations in the past 5 years. They've paid $373 million in fines. They think, it's going to cost us more to actually do safe drilling than paying the fines, so they pay the fines instead. But here's the part I'm shocked about. Sunoco and ConocoPhillips, in the same time period, have only had 8 safety violations. And are you ready for this? In that same time period, ExxonMobil has only had 1. ExxonMobil only had 1, and you had 760 safety violations? You see what's happening here? It's not that, oh, look, they're all doing this, etc. No, BP is worse. BP is the worst of the worst. And then their CEO comes in and pretends he doesn't know a thing about what's going on. Oh, by the way, he doesn't know anything, but of course, in 2009, he collected $4.7 million. What did he get that money for? If he doesn't know a damn thing that's going on in his company, did he earn that money? Of course he did, because he made more and more profits. Some people died, you got a disaster. It's not their problem. Well, now it's their problem. Now they're on the hook for $20 billion. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, or drill it, or do whatever you do with it. Okay, now, no, I'm not ready for the anger yet. That's coming next segment. Okay, get ready for it. All right, let's have some fun. Let's see how the media covers very important issues. Like, for example, General Petraeus goes in front of Congress and he's going to talk about Afghanistan. And, he's in charge of the whole theater now, Afghanistan, Iraq, etc. And we're going to get into the issues here. Except General Petraeus faints during the hearings. So, what's the reaction? Well, Ben Craw at Huffington Post has compiled all the different media reaction, and I'm going to tell you at the end if any of them actually talked about what happened in the hearing other than the fainting. Let's watch. Let's go to clip number 6.
The commander for U.S. forces in Iraq and Afghanistan, General David Petraeus, gave lawmakers a bit of a scare.
Man, a pretty big scare.
Scary moment.
Scary situation, Cameron.
General David Petraeus passes out during a hearing on the war in Afghanistan. What the general is now saying about his health. And for the first time, we will hear from a man forced to try and cut off his own arm.
General David Petraeus back. He's back to give an update on the war in Afghanistan.
He got lightheaded during questions yesterday.
Fainting yesterday.
You might remember that he collapsed yesterday.
Petraeus was answering a question about troop withdrawal timeline from Afghanistan when he had to leave the room.
After slumping over in his chair.
The general appeared to pass out. He seemed to be passing out.
Fainted or at least slumped his head near the table where he was testifying.
Keeled over. I think that's a fair description here.
You can see it happening there. Everybody gathers around him.
Mr. General, can you tell us what happened, please?
Just got a little lightheaded, got dehydrated, that's all. You don't have the flu or something, do you? I don't think so.
You're all right now.
little dehydrated, but doing much better.
Not about to let a little dehydration and jet lag keep him from his job.
He told our Dana Bash that he got a little bit dehydrated, adding that he had skipped breakfast.
Didn't eat breakfast this morning.
I think a lot of these people are so involved in their activities, they forget to eat.
I'm passing out.
Okay, are you okay? You want to hang on?
Passing out.
Okay. You want to sit down?
Gone.
Gone. Okay. So, I got a lot out of that, actually, right? First of all, here's the important fact you have to know. Jason Lincolns covers the media for Huffington Post. He actually tracked the Petraeus hearings. And funny enough, the only anchor that actually talked about the substance of the hearings was Brett Baer on Fox News Channel. No one else mentioned a single thing Petraeus said or what the topic was. Instead, oh my God, we've got drama. Is good old, that was in there, literally, you heard that? Is good old David Petraeus okay? Is he all right? Oh, good old David Petraeus. Oh no, it's dehydration, obviously, and but he doesn't let that get him down, Petraeus. Well, he's so busy. He cares so much about the American people, he didn't even eat breakfast. That's probably what happened. First, obsessed with nonsense. Second of all, I mean, even in this comical aspect, they got to cover for him, right? They got to be. And I'm not. Don't get me wrong. The guy fainted. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not like I'm so, oh, Petraeus, I can't believe he fainted. I don't care about that at all, right? But their whole thing is like, oh, Petraeus, God, he's so strong. The way he just doesn't even eat breakfast. But he's all right, though. He's okay, good old Petraeus. All right, so they did no substance, but don't worry, CNN did a follow-up story. Oh, thank God. Clip number 7.
Let's bring in our senior medical correspondent, Elizabeth Cohen. What are some of the medical reasons a healthy person might simply faint?
Wolf, we've been asking doctors that question this afternoon, and they say it could be anything from anxiety to silent heart disease, anything from heat to something called vasovagal syndrome. It's just really difficult to know.
Should he have gone to a doctor or even to a hospital?
Wolf, as we understand it, he did see a doctor there at the Capitol for a brief period of time. I think some doctors would be concerned that he didn't go see a doctor for a more thorough examination. That sort of 20 minutes off to the side with the Capitol Hill doctor may not have been enough.
Elizabeth, thank you.
Thanks.
It's a most unusual and at times humiliating sight. Our Jeannie Most takes a closer look at what happens when public figures pass out.
Are you kidding me, man? Are you kidding me? How about Afghanistan? What's happening over there? You've got the general. Did anyone ask him a question? They went and asked the doctors about silent heart disease. What are you talking about? First of all, I mean, talk about blowing this thing out of proportion. The dude fainted. He's going to be all right. We don't have to know if it's silent heart disease or Jim Jablowski disease that he's got. And his checkups are fine. No substance whatsoever. But don't pretend you don't want to see that story about all the other people passing out. All right, we'll show you. Go ahead.
At least General Petraeus was sitting down when he collapsed. Remember when the first President Bush ended up sick under the table at a Japanese state dinner? When Marie Osmond was on Dancing with the Stars? He fainted.
Oh, crap.
When Bill Daley was nominated for Commerce Secretary by Bill Clinton, look who helped catch him, CNN's Wolf Blitzer. There she goes.
In the health system that everybody agrees are there.
Jeannie Most. CNN, New York.
Pass out. Okay, look, people passing out is funny. I give them that. Those kids were the best of them. Like, oh, I'm gone. Okay, but by the way, Wolf Blitzer never broke a story in his life, right? They didn't ask a single question about the actual hearings today. They didn't cover that for a second today. But they're like, oh, look at who caught Daley when he passed out. Our hero, Wolf Blitzer. Journalism in America. If you faint, we're all over it. Okay, let's take a quick break here. Killer show today, okay? 187 on a show today. Is it on a show or is the show 187? Anyway, so what do we got for you today? Are we going to cover Joe Barton? Well, of course we are. That's coming up first. Okay, so everybody calm down. We are going to rip him. It's going to be awesome. Furthermore, unfortunately, though, I'm going to have to go back to ripping the White House. They keep pulling me back in. I want to leave them alone. I want to get out of there. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But they keep pulling me back in. All right, let me save that disappointment till later in the program. All right, and then well, what else do I have for you? I've got controversies. Oh, Petraeus faints. God, the news in America is awesome. Okay, and General Petraeus fainting is a great example of that. So we'll do that in a little bit too, and then later in the program, Michael Schur joins us. So that should make for interesting conversations. And oh, by the way, where are the American people on Arizona? The law in Arizona, are they in favor or against? A new poll out. Interesting results. All right, that's later in the program. All right, now, see, Republicans usually are somewhat subtle in the way they support corporations. So, for example, Mitch McConnell will go and meet with the Wall Street bankers and say, we would like your money, and we'll literally tell them, you gave money to the Democrats, and that was a mistake because they're not protecting you as well as we would. Now, that gets it into the Wall Street Journal, but then when he's challenged on it, he'll say, no, I don't want to protect the big banks. I just wanted to protect the community banks in Kentucky, my home state. You see, I mean, to us, it's pretty obvious, but for the mainstream media, that's good enough. They're like, oh, Mitch McConnell looking to protect the community banks in Kentucky, and they run with it, right? Well, Joe Barton today, Republican from Texas, screwed up because he lost that subtlety. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, that was a mistake. Okay, he just came out and it, basically admitted who he works for, which is the giant oil companies. Tony Hayward, the CEO of BP, is in front of him in a hearing in the House, and he's going to apologize to him. The government is going to apologize to BP. Let's find out why. Let's go to clip number 1.
I'm speaking now totally for myself. I'm not speaking for the Republican Party. I'm not speaking for anybody in the House of Representatives but myself. But I'm ashamed of what happened in the White House yesterday. I think it is a tragedy of the first proportion that a private corporation can be subjected to what I would characterize as a shakedown. In this case, a $20 billion shakedown, with the Attorney General of the United States, who is legitimately conducting a criminal investigation and has every right to do so to protect the interests of the American people, participating in what amounts to a $20 billion slush fund that's unprecedented in our nation's history, that's got no legal standing, and which sets, I think, a terrible precedent for the future. If I called you into my office and I had the subcommittee chairman, Mr. Stupak, with me, who was legitimately conducting an oversight investigation on your company, and said, if you put so many millions of dollars in a project in my congressional district, I could go to jail and should go to jail. Now, there is no question that British Petroleum owns this lease. There is no question that BP, I'm sorry, it's not British Petroleum anymore, that BP made decisions that objective people think compromise safety. There is no question that BP is liable for the damages. But we have a due process system where we go through hearings, in some cases court cases, litigation, and determine what those damages are and when those damages should be paid. So I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I apologize. I do not want to live in a country where any time a citizen or a corporation does something that is legitimately wrong is subject to some sort of political pressure that is, again, in my words, amounts to a shakedown. So I apologize.
Unreal. So BP does the worst environmental disaster in United States history, and there is this pathetic congressman, this politician, who's taken money, you're going to be shocked to find out, from the oil and gas industry his whole career. I'm going to tell you the numbers in a second. Just begging him, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry we tried to hold you accountable. I know you bought me and my job was to fight back. I just wish I could have fought back against the Obama administration a little more. I'm sorry they held you accountable. I failed you, Mr. Boss Man. And that's his boss. You see, Joe Barton doesn't work for you if you're in Texas, if you're in his district. He works for oil and gas. All right, let's give you the numbers. So Joe Barton, just since 2009 alone, has received $100,470 in political contributions from oil and gas interests. Over the course of his career, he has gotten $1.4 million from the oil and gas industry. Gee, I wonder why Joe Barton apologizes to BP. He's sorry he couldn't deliver for the job they hired him for, which was to protect them from ever paying for anything. Make sure all the costs go to the taxpayers. Well, we're not done yet. Notice he said in there, this would set a terrible precedent. Why does he care about the precedent? Well, it turns out, of course, that one of the top contributors for Joe Barton's campaigns, and from '89 to 2010, gave him $146,500, is Anadarko Petroleum, who's also apparently involved in this oil spill. And BP has already asked them to contribute for their negligence involved in the spill. What Barton doesn't want to happen is, if we set this precedent with BP being responsible, they might come after one of my top contributors and hold them responsible for their share too. Well, I don't want to do that. I want to protect Anadarko Petroleum. Man, they are so obvious. Look, I'm telling you, conservatives, for the millionth time, these guys don't work for you. They work for corporate America. They work for the people who pay their bills, and it's in this case, the oil and gas companies. And he doesn't give a damn what happens to your beaches, to your livelihood, or to your states. He just likes getting paid. Now, by the way, that's a great way of putting it. I almost said, which company has BP given more money to? Close enough. Which political party? Can you tell the difference these days? The Republicans have received, in the last cycle from BP, $2.8 million, and to be exact, $2,816,983. And the Democrats got $1,097,491. So almost 3 times as much to the Republicans. Gee, I wonder why the Republicans are all sticking up for BP. I can't quite figure it out. All right, well, let's go a little further. See if that's probably just Joe Barton, though, right? I mean, it can't be any other Republicans. Nobody else is that crazy, right? That's weird. I got a study here from the Republican Study Committee that came out this morning before Joe Barton spoke that said, this is a slush fund, and this is, shakedown. It's Chicago-style politics. They're holding this poor BP responsible for what they did. No, they should get to keep the money. Now, already yesterday, we showed you all the politicians. Perfect example was Haley Barbour coming out and saying, well, if we take this money from BP, how are they going to continue to have profits so that they could pay us back later voluntarily? Okay, again, a little more subtle than Joe Barton, but the same exact message. Now, it turns out the rest of the Republicans aren't that much more subtle than that either. So let's go to John Fleming and see what he has to say. He's another representative. Clip number 2.
What about this week? He announced the $20 billion escrow fund funded by BP to compensate some of the victims of this catastrophe. The Republican Study Committee put out a press release last night saying it's Chicago-style power grab. Right. Do you agree with that sentiment?
I do, because what we have seen from this administration is whenever something like this happens, you look at automotive industry, you look at financial industry, what they do is they take control of the dollars and then they begin to disperse them along political agendas. And we've seen this happen before, and it looks like that's the development here. BP has said time and time again that they will process all legitimate claims. We have no reason to believe they won't. So why is it that the administration feels like it's got to take control of all the money from BP?
Don't take the money from BP. Don't do it. Please leave the money to them so that they can later give it to me. They don't work for you. Let's go to Representative Jim Jordan, clip number 3.
So, Congressman, the Republican Study Committee last night said that the $20 billion escrow fund is just another Chicago-style politics kind of power grab. Do you agree with that? Do you think that it's something like that? It's a fair characterization?
I'm always worried about this unprecedented involvement by the government and the private sector. And look, BP obviously made some mistakes, but do we really believe the federal government's going to do a better job?
Come on, poor BP, leave him alone. Stop hitting him. God, they've given us $3 million in the last cycle. What are you doing? Okay, all right, well, that's not enough for you. All right, I got another one for you. By the way, I'm going to stop after this, but I've got many more where this came from. So this is not an isolated incident. Look, you remember what happens here. They do talking points, and then the Republicans mindlessly repeat the talking points. The talking points are produced by corporations, literally by lobbyists who pay the corporations that pay the lobbyists that give you them the talking points. They get it in the morning from the Republican Study Committee, and they're like, what do we got? And look at this. Tom Price from Georgia, same exact thing. Chicago-style shakedown politics. The administration is trying to get a hold of the economy and control the economy, and they should just leave private corporations alone. Here's another quote. It's important to note that there is no legal authority for the president to compel a private company to set up or contribute to an escrow account. Okay? So they all got their marching orders. They stepped out there, and guess what happened? It turns out that that was a disastrous marching order, that they went too far. See, and that's the thing, but especially Joe Barton, but all these guys too. They're so smug. They think, well, we can't lose. First of all, our talk show hosts and our Fox News channel have all of our supporters brainwashed, thinking that, yeah, corporate America is the only thing that must be protected. You lost your job. You don't get a decent wage. Who cares? But it doesn't matter because the propaganda is out there. They got our back. They're never going to, tell them that we're screwing them over for our private gain. So we got that covered. And plus, I have all this money, and so I can crush any opponent that comes by. Plus, the conservatives, they can't figure it out. They're not bright enough to figure out that we're screwing them, we're hosing them. We've been doing it for decades. We're gathering their anger and then using it against them. They're never going to figure out the game. So that's why Joe Barton comes out here and goes, yeah, I'll spit in your eye. Yeah, okay, yeah. So they had all of you people in the Gulf Coast area, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Texas. You all have to suffer? So what? Who cares? I'm just going to come out and brazenly say it. I love BP, and I will protect them at all costs, right? Because that's what they do, and they've never paid a price for it. So that's why I keep asking conservatives, are you going to make them pay that price? When are you going to wake up that they're screwing you? I mean, I say it against the Democrats all the time. Where are your conservative talk show hosts explaining that? No, they're doing the same exact thing. You see Glenn Beck, we showed that clip yesterday. Oh, no, BP must be protected. Obama's going after BP because he's a racist. He doesn't like white CEOs. They're all in on it, man. They're playing you for the sucker, for the fool. So now, in this one, they catch some heat and realize, oh, my God, maybe we've gone a little too far here, and maybe we should backpedal out of this thing, right? Now, I'm going to get to Joe Barton's backpedal in a second. But first of all, to give you a sense of how much Joe Barton loves offshore oil drilling and the oil companies. Now, remember, they've been paying him all these years, $1.4 million, right? So I'm going to give you an old school quote from Joe Barton. This is from 2004. It's not that old. This is a doozy. Here we go. Offshore drilling and production platforms are so technologically advanced that one platform on the surface of the water can handle production from several different wells several miles apart, house a myriad of technologically advanced computer systems, employ scores of personnel, generate electricity, enable people to face and conquer the adversities of living in the middle of the ocean, and do so 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, all without so much as losing a gum wrapper over the side of the platform. It's truly amazing. They are so good. Oil spill. Oh, no, they would never have an oil spill. They don't even lose a gum wrapper over the platform. Nothing ever goes wrong in offshore drilling because the people that pay Joe Barton told them so. Joe, how'd that work out for you? Is that how it turned out? But actually, it didn't turn out any badly at all for Joe Barton. He doesn't care. He's probably going to get more money from them now. So, and the suckers in his district should fire him, but they probably won't. they'll probably keep re-electing him because Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh will tell him, no. Make sure that you spend all of your time and energy protecting BP's profits. Okay, now, so he overstepped, and here comes the backpedal. In the morning when they asked him about it, they said, are you going to do an apology? He said, you better believe I'm not. He said, get that damn straight, I'm not going to get to apologize. Typical Republican, right? But what happened is all the Republicans from the Gulf area, right, especially some of the Republicans from Florida, who their districts might get decimated, especially the tourist industry as the oil washes up on shore, they were seething mad because it's going to be their ass on the line. Like if they seem like they're supporting Joe Barton, they might be in real electoral trouble in their district. So they come out and say, oh, Joe's got to, no, that's it. He's got to apologize. And all this Republican anger builds against Joe Barton. Now, if it was just Democrats, Joe Barton would be like, yeah. Okay, who cares, right? But now that the Republicans are on him, and what I loved is the guy watching it, I should have live tweeted it, man. Watching it happen throughout the day, in the morning I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, come on, he's got to get in trouble for this, right? Then he starts to get in trouble for it, and the immediate Republican reaction is, hell yeah, we meant it, yeah, BP rocks. American people, take that, huh? And we'll do it again. Drill, baby, drill, and we'll spill it, and we'll throw it all over, I don't know, Minnesota. I don't know how they're going to get in Minnesota, but they'll do it, right? So that was their initial reaction, and that's like mid-morning, mid-afternoon, right? Then they get to late afternoon, and the panic sets in. They're like, yeah, oh, that's playing really badly, huh? Oh, that put us in trouble. Okay, everybody, come on. Oh, yeah, I never liked Joe Barton. You know what? I think Joe Barton should step down from the Energy Committee. Yeah, Joe Barton. Who's Joe Barton? Never heard of that guy. Barton. Okay, so then finally, Barton has to come out and say, first by the way, one last twist. First he did a half apology. If anyone misconstrued what I was saying to mean that I don't think BP should be held responsible, well, of course I didn't mean that. But I mean, I still think that it's, terrible to take this money from them, right? Now the full apology. By the end of the day, he says no mas. He throws in the towel. Here we go. I apologize for using the term shakedown with regard to yesterday's actions at the White House in my opening statement this morning, and I retract my apology to BP. I mean, come on, man. He apologized to them. What did we do that we have to apologize to BP? That's our representative. But don't worry, he has now retracted that apology. By the way, just one more thing there, before I continue with that. Think about it, man. Why is he fawning over this guy, and why is he apologizing to him? Because that's his boss. That's the guy who pays the bills. So, of course, I mean, if your boss is yelling at you or you're in front of your boss, sometimes you get a little intimidated and they say, hey, what's going on here? You're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I mean, I don't, but I think I can understand some people get intimidated by that. Yeah, he better know who's boss around here. So, all right, so he says, I retract my apology to BP. As I told my colleagues yesterday and said again this morning, BP should bear the full financial responsibility for the accident on their lease in the Gulf of Mexico. BP should fully compensate those families and businesses that have been hurt by this accident. BP and the federal government need to stop the leak, clean up the damage, and take whatever steps necessary to prevent a similar accident in the future. I regret the impact that my statement this morning implied that BP should not pay for the consequences of their decisions and actions in this incident. I regret that it has caused some political damage to my fellow Republicans. I didn't mean that. I just meant to protect them like we always do, with a wink and a nod. My bad. I played it a little poorly. Okay. And then finally, on this issue, on the Barton issue, if you notice in that statement, he said the people who are responsible are BP and the federal government. Don't worry. He doesn't actually apologize. He didn't change his mind. Believe me, Joe Barton, behind the scenes going forward, be a little more clever about it, but we'll look to stick you with the bill. Because the federal government shouldn't do anything unless, of course, somebody has to pay the bill. That's when the federal government should step in and pay the bill for the private corporations who screwed it up, whether it's banking or oil. Okay, please wake up. For the love of God, wake up if you're a conservative. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being a conservative. We can have those debates, but letting these guys take your money while pretending to be conservative, Well, that's unjustifiable. Right. A little later, we'll come back to BP because there's some astonishing facts about it that came out today. And by the way, their CEO pulled Dr. McCoy from Star Trek. I'll explain. Young Turks.